If you hear this, it might already be too late. I'm not saying that to scare you. I'm saying it because I can hear it breathing in the static between my words. And if you clicked this video by accident, if you're thinking about closing the tab, don't. For your own sake, don't. It's 2:03 a.m. My webcam light is flickering like it's struggling to stay alive. And the room smells like cold metal even though every window is shut. I keep checking the door, but the knocks come from places that don't have doors. Just listen. Knock, knock. Did you hear that? No, don't rewind. It's not on the recording. It's in the feed. It moves with the signal. You're wondering who I am. Doesn't matter. What matters is what followed me back here. Last night, I thought it was just a ghost story, an urban legend live stream about a frequency that hunts through screens. I laughed. I watched. I even joked in the chat. But something laughed back. The sound started like a low hum inside my headphones. I thought it was interference. Then the hum said my name. Not typed. Said. I tore the headphones off so fast the cable snapped. The hum stayed. Right in my skull. I told myself sleep would kill it. Sleep kills everything for a few hours. But when I woke, every notification on my phone was from people I don't know. Blank profiles. All with one message. Listen, I can feel you leaning closer to your own screen. Good. Stay. I need witnesses. Knock. Closer this time. My monitor shakes, but nothing else in the room moves. It likes the camera on. I think it feeds through light. There's a theory, maybe a curse, that once you notice the whisper, it notices you back. The forums say it started as a pirate radio signal in the 90s. Someone digitized it. Now it rides Wi-Fi. It doesn't care about distance. It only cares that you're looking. I know how this sounds. Crazy. Clickbait. But tell me why the temperature just dropped. Yesterday started like any other forgettable Tuesday. The kind of day you can crumple up and toss in the trash of memory without a single pang of guilt. I woke late, sunlight already a little too sharp against the curtains, and the smell of burnt coffee drifted from the kitchen. My roommate, Sam, was humming some out-of-tune pop song while scrolling his feed, the sound grating but oddly comforting. We traded lazy jabs about whose turn it was to buy groceries. I pretended to be annoyed. He pretended to care. Normal. The world outside our window was exactly as it should be. Kids dragging backpacks to school, the neighbor's dog barking at invisible threats, a delivery truck screeching to a stop. No ominous shadows, no flickering lights. Just the dull rhythm of life beating in time with the traffic. I brewed another pot of coffee, cursing the cheap filters, and scrolled through my usual haunts. Paranormal forums, glitch in the matrix threads, the kind of places where bored insomniacs share ghost stories to pass the night. I wasn't searching for anything, just killing time the way you pick at a scab without thinking. That's when I saw the post. It was buried deep in a thread titled Frequencies You Shouldn't Hear, a name too dramatic for its own good. A user called Glassmoth had uploaded a grainy audio clip and a single line of text. If you listen, it listens back. I almost scrolled past, but something about the phrase snagged in my head. Maybe it was the confidence. Maybe it was the promise of a quick thrill. I clicked play. Nothing. Just a low hiss, like an old radio searching for a station. I smirked, ready to move on, when a faint whisper slipped through the static. I couldn't make out the words, but the sound curled around my brain like smoke. I felt my scalp prickle. Cheap jump scare, I muttered and shut the tab. Sam popped his head in. Talking to yourself again? Creepy man. Better than talking to you. I shot back. We laughed, the moment I'll read. The next few days blurred together, but not in the way weekends usually do. Normally, after one of our dumb ritual nights, life snapped back into its usual shape. Classes, errands, scrolling, nothing that lingered. But this time, the world carried a new weight, like the air itself had thickened, like I was wading through something I couldn't see. The first sign came on Monday. I was brushing my teeth, half asleep, when I caught my reflection moving a fraction too late. Just a heartbeat of delay, like the mirror version of me was slow to catch up. I laughed it off, muttered something about not enough caffeine, but I couldn't look myself in the eye again that morning. Then came the silences. You never notice how loud your world is until it goes quiet. Walking to class, I realized I couldn't hear a single bird, not even the buzz of insects. Just footsteps, mine, echoing sharper than they should have. At night, my apartment felt like a vacuum. No pipes groaning, no neighbor's TV through the wall, just a silence so deep it pressed against my eardrums. And then the shadows. I told myself I was being dramatic. But once you notice something, you can't unsee it. Streetlights cast shadows that bent the wrong way, curling instead of stretching. When I moved, they hesitated, like they didn't want to follow. In one reflection, on the black surface of my phone screen, I saw a shape behind me, too tall, too thin, its head tilted at an impossible angle. When I whipped around, there was nothing but the hum of the fridge. I tried reaching out online, going back to that cursed forum thread. But half the accounts that had commented were gone. Deleted. Wiped clean. One user who had posted warnings still had a profile, but their last message was chillingly simple. If you're reading this, it knows you. That's when the paranoia started to set in. I left every light on at night. I kept the TV running just so the silence wouldn't crush me. And still, in the corner of my vision, some tea. Keycap 4 Deepening Mystery. The Town Without Voices, 900 words. Summary. Travel to the asylum ruins seeking answers. Empty town, flickering streetlights, inexplicable silence. Encounters a cryptic stranger who vanishes mid-sentence. World building. Rumors of a frequency only certain people can hear. Contrast. Bustling city departure, soundless ghost town arrival. FOMO hooks. If anyone recognizes that frequency, tell me in the comments, before it finds you. The Red Room was nothing like I had imagined. It was worse. As soon as I crossed the threshold, the temperature dropped sharply, and the air grew thick, almost viscous, pressing against my lungs with each breath. My flashlight trembled in my hand, illuminating walls slick with dark stains, tiles warped and cracked as though the room had been alive for decades, pulsing slowly with some hidden heartbeat. Ethan was beside me, his face pale, lips trembling. I don't know if we should even be here, he whispered, but I could feel the pull too strongly. Something inside the room called to me, tugging at curiosity and fear in equal measure. The folder in my backpack shifted slightly, as if nudging me forward. Every step we took echoed unnaturally, bouncing back at us with a delay that made the room feel infinitely large. The corners were impossibly deep, shadows pooling like liquid, and I could swear they moved of their own accord. I stepped closer to the center. The operating chair sat under a single, dim light, its leather cracked and stained. The straps hung loose, swinging slightly as if someone, or something, had just been released. Beside it lay tools, rusted and slick, a scalpel glinting as though freshly sharpened. A sudden pang of nausea washed over me. This was where the patients had vanished. This was where the asylum claimed its victims. A low hum began to rise from the floor, vibrating through my chest. Shadows along the walls twitched, and my stomach churned with the growing realization that we were not alone. Shapes began to coalesce in the corners, figures tall and thin, faces blurred, reaching toward us with slow, deliberate movements. I staggered back. Ethan grabbed my arm. "Do you see that?" His voice was tight, strained with terror. I nodded, swallowing hard. "They're waiting." The walls seemed to pulse in response, the floor trembling beneath our feet. Whispers began, soft at first, curling around our ears. "Do not leave, stay forever." I felt tea. The asylum door slammed behind me with a weight that felt deliberate, like a hand pushing it shut. My flashlight sputtered, then steadied, throwing a narrow beam across a corridor I swear hadn't existed a minute ago. The air thickened, warm, metallic, like breathing through copper wool. I followed the hall because there was no choice. Every other path simply wasn't there anymore. Walls pulsed faintly, inhaling and exhaling in time with my heartbeat. At the corridor's end, a staircase descended into darkness. The steps were slick, blackened by centuries of water or something worse. Each creak echoed upward as if someone beneath me answered. I gripped the rail, whispering to steady myself. One foot, then the other. Halfway down, the whispers returned, hundreds of them, each one a memory I didn't remember making. Children laughing, my own voice telling jokes I'd never said. A lullaby my mother used to hum, played backward until it scraped the nerves raw. The stairs ended in a cavernous chamber lit by a dim violet glow that seemed to come from nowhere. At its center sat a throne of charred wood and twisted metal, as if a cathedral organ had been melted into a single monstrous shape. Something occupied it. Not a person. Not exactly. A shadow condensed into a figure only when I refused to blink. A human silhouette woven from smoke and ash, crowned with a tangle of wires that hummed like power lines. Eyes, dozens, flickered in and out of the darkness across its surface, never staying in one place. I couldn't breathe. The air vibrated with the low-frequency thrum I'd heard in the stranger's warning about the frequency. Who are you?" My voice fractured. It smiled without a mouth. The chamber shook. "We are what you listen to." The words arrived not as sound, but as pressure behind my eyes, like thoughts that weren't mine. "You've been inside my head since the first knock," I said. "Why me?" "You heard the silence." The figure shifted. Time rippled, for a heart. The highway home was empty. No cars. No distant rumble of late-night trucks. Only the soft hiss of tires on asphalt and the metronome of my heartbeat. I kept checking the rearview mirror, half expecting the asylum's black outline to follow me like a thunderhead. But the road behind stayed dark and perfectly still, too still. When I reached the city limits, the silence thickened. Neon signs glowed but didn't hum. Traffic lights blinked without the usual buzz. Even the wind forgot how to move. I rolled down the window to prove it to myself and heard nothing except the faint, low frequency I'd first felt in that throne room. My phone vibrated. A notification, new voice memo, 2:13 a.m. I hadn't recorded anything. I played it. It was me, whispering, "You're already inside the circle." I dropped the phone to the passenger seat, pulse hammering. "Not real," I muttered, but the words felt like a lie. A gas station appeared ahead, lights flickering violet like the glow from the chamber. I pulled in, desperate for proof of life. The attendant stood behind the counter, staring at nothing. His lips moved soundlessly. When he finally turned to me, his eyes were the dull gray of static. "Need anything?" The words dragged like they'd traveled through miles of wire. I backed toward the door, just passing through. He smiled, a fraction too wide, and whispered, "We are listening." Outside, a row of streetlights blinked on and off in slow unison, their rhythm matching the pulse I'd felt under my skin since the asylum. I drove on, every intersection emptier than the last. By the time I reached my apartment, the building looked the same but sounded wrong. The elevator hummed a half-tone lower. The hallway lights flickered in violet bursts. Behind each door, neighbors spoke in murmurs, sentences looping like broken recordings. Inside my unit, the silence was a living thing, pressing against the walls. My laptop powered itself. You're probably wondering why I'm telling you all this. Why I drag you through the knocks, the whispers, the shadows. Maybe you think it's some kind of confession. Maybe you think I'm doing it to warn you. You're wrong. I'm telling you this because they told me to. I didn't realize it at first. I thought speaking it out loud, shaping the words, would help me take back control. That maybe if I gave the story to someone else, it would stop circling in my head. But I've learned the truth. Every word I say, every detail I share, is another thread pulled tight between me and you. The shadows feed on connection. It started small. A whisper during the recording, static bleeding through my microphone, a syllable that wasn't mine. When I played it back, I heard it clearly. Good. That was when I knew they were listening. Not just listening, writing. You see, they don't need chalk circles anymore. They don't need scratched words or crooked handprints. They only need me to keep talking, to keep remembering. And you, right now, are part of it. Don't look over your shoulder. Not yet. Just keep reading, because if you stop, they'll notice the silence. That's the first thing they taught me. The silence is never empty. I used to think the confrontation was the climax, the moment of truth where I won or lost. But I understand now, that wasn't the end. That was the rehearsal. The real performance is happening now. Do you remember the boy I told you about? The one with chalk dust on his hands. In my dreams, I see him still, crouched in the stairwell, drawing circles that always smear, always break. But last night, he spoke to me differently. "They aren't outside anymore," he said. "They're inside. Every time you tell it, you draw the circle for them. And circles trap both ways." I woke with that sentence carved into my skin, faint but real. A ring etched in shallow lines around my wrist, like a bracelet of scars. That was the moment I realized I hadn't delayed anything.